first round, we've got kind of an interesting one to start off the day. We have probably one of the top dogs, the new format, Viserai. At least, you know, probably top 4 or 5 heroes people are probably keeping their eye on. Coming up against Levia, everyone's favorite
meme
bottom tier, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you could pick your Levia or Azalea, you can kind of go either way, but I think most people kind of err towards Levia because at least Levia can do brute things.
It's interesting. I'm trying to see, like, knowing there's Art of War in the list, I'm trying to see if he's trying to have these big, amazing, like, go wide turns to actually make, like, heavy, successful attacks or not. I haven't seen a Levia play in months. Not that they aren't out there, but actually, like, seeing one actually play and do well. So it'll be interesting to see the round 1 results.
And we're just keeping things simple to start here. 2 Mandible Claw attacks, followed with a big brute attack. Probably coming in for 6, you know. It's always a little risky attacking on turn 1 because you don't really know what your opponent's up to. You don't know if they want how hard they want to filter their hands. But there's also
mistaken, I think that's the one where if you full block it.
Oh, you get a quicken token.
You get the quicken token.
Yeah. Swing big.
Swing big. Yeah, from Everfest.
So it does look like Jonathan is going to opt to use some armor here to cover that attack up and get that quicken token, which Viserai can use quicken token probably pretty effectively. You know, on those turns where you want to go super wide, sometimes you can get a little gutted on action points.
Oh, very much so. It's interesting having that free action point back, having Spellbound Creepers to the side as well.
That can make a big difference later in the game.
Oh, especially with this hand right here. Yeah, like lead off with like a race face, and then you come in with Spellbound Creepers, get your action point back with Mavrian Skies into another attack and finish off the Rosetta.
And this is interesting because, you know, Josh is not on the more like lean pummel no blood debt lists we've seen, so a race face is something that could do some damage in this matchup.
Well, interesting. I guess he did not get a quicken token because he did lead with the Mavrian Skies. So maybe it wasn't swing big.
It might not have been. I don't know what all the brute arts look like, so
I just see big green things in the attack, so it's the wrong assumption on our part. Oh, if you notice, he even has one of the metal resource counters as well.
Yeah, I love those. It's just nice to be able to, like, it's nice when the players give you a little bit of extra visualization.
We actually met the guy who designed those in New Jersey at the Pro Tour. Pretty cool guy. He just had a whole bag of them going around for $5 each.
Yeah. So, pretty simple turn here for Jonathan as well. Mauve Skies, give that Shrill Skull Form, go again from the Rune Chant token that gets created, and then we're going to follow up with Rosetta.
Going for the erase face in the arsenal.
Yeah, probably set up a little bit for next turn.
Which, are there a lot of opportunities for erase face to actually be beneficial against the brutes?
Yeah, you kind of want to, I think especially against Levia, you can kind of like arsenal the erase face, see what they are doing as far as their list. Are they playing a lot of blood debt? You know, kind of what are they doing? And then can I like optimize this erase face on a turn to like trap them into having a lot of blood debt and then just like take some tempo in that direction?
That makes sense.
So this is a Beast Within. This is the one that they're gonna. Josh is gonna reveal the top card of their deck until they hit another brute attack that has 6 or more power, and then they, I believe lose a life for each card that gets revealed this way. I think it's a Sift in that first card there. Yeah, Sift one of the big additions to the Rune Blades post Uprising. Just like a very nice, simple 0 for, like, kind of fixes your hands, and you get to play a blue. So it's a blue non-attack action with Go Again. Yeah. There's really not much more you need.
This is great to have just for that Viserai ability set up.
Yeah.
Like, plays right into the hero.
Okay, so we do see the Art of War pitched here. So obviously not what they're interested in doing. Gonna banish 3 random cards in that graveyard to be able to play this attack. This is the one that I think attacks are 6, and then if you banish a couple, like some of them are blood debt cards, it gets a +2, so it's like a 3 for 8 here, I believe. That's a red. which I can't tell what color that is. I think it's blue. So if it's a red, it's coming in for 8. If it's a blue, it's coming in for 6.
And obviously, this early in the game, there's no on-hit effect to worry about.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even block it.
No.
Yep, there we go, taking the damage.
Yeah, Viserai mostly just gonna want to like keep as many cards as possible, make those big rune chant turns, and just go super wide and tall at the same time.
Pitching the Sif.
Yeah, here comes a Minnowism. Here comes a Belittle. We're gonna go find a Minnowism. Let's see if he wants if he needs the blue for the resource production.
Looks like he went for the red.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have blues for resource production and we have reds for the extra damage.
Oh man, in a really good spot with 2 resources still floating.
Yeah. So we're gonna block with the Ghostly Visit. Here comes Minnowism and a Swarming Gloomveil. Okay. That's gonna make a rune chant. So right now this just has go again, so not too devastating of an attack up front. But if Jonathan has any like tricky ways to sneak in some additional rune chants while this is on the chain, then the Swarming Gloomveil could get out of hand very fast.
It looks like his only option right now would be to Creepers in, I think it's a Mavrian Skies in his hand. Which is a bit of a waste.
It's a bit of a waste.
It would force an extra rune chance.
Yeah, it really
still
depends.
Pop his chest to play the Erase Face from Arsenal.
I think most likely we're just going to see a Rosetta Thorn. Yeah.
Or he could just basically follow it with the Erase Face if he felt like it, but I think it's not worth it at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, got the 3D printed dice on there. However, it's really hard to read.
Looks like we have another Beast Within in hands. So we'll see if Josh is interested in cashing that in for a different kind of card here.
Throw into the husk.
All right, that's a pretty big win, I would think, if you're Jonathan here.
Yeah.
Using that husk early, just like getting that armor out of the way, and you get to now like I think this is
Force
like a
the blood
really
bet, yeah.
I think this is a really good spot to use this Erase Face. You've gotten rid of your opponent's biggest piece of armor, and now you have the opportunity to like really try to like turn off some of what they got going on for their next turn.
I think the whole point of playing the Erase Face right now, too, is because the Carrion Husk is thrown under, you know Josh wants to keep the cards in his hands. You're trying to force at least a double block if possible.
Yeah. And if you're Josh, you kind of get to weigh like how impactful is this Erase Face really going to be to my next turn, and you know, kind of depending on what your answer is, you're right. You might have thrown 2 cards away here. So hopefully Josh has something he can cobble together even through this loss of class.
He's really considering that Beast Within.
Yeah.
How important is this?
We're going to see the double block.
I believe we took the 1 Arcane.
Yeah, got to take that 1 Arcane from the Rune Chant that was hanging around. All right, so fairly solid turn there for Jonathan. Really clearing the way, and now Josh only has 1 card to play with here. So we'll see if we get an Arsenal or a pitch for some Mandibles damage.
Oof.
Okay, well.
We know it's gonna be a blood debt turn.
Yeah,
so.
really taking a look at that Banished Zone and not too happy with. Didn't look like he was too happy with what he saw over there.
I wouldn't be thrilled right now.
Yeah.
Let's go for the Arsenal. Try to pivot back.
Yeah. Just play it slow. You're gonna take a little extra damage, but like, what are you really gaining by making a Mandible attack at this state of the game?
Right.
I don't think you really want to risk potentially getting blown out.
So looking at Jonathan's turn, he did Arsenal and Mavrian Skies, correct?
It looks like he has another
Mavrian Skies
in hand. And
it's not Arcanix.
It's a Minnowism.
Minnowism.
I guess they're gonna start with Sonata.
Okay, so we're
He's gonna pay into it for 1, so he's gonna get
reveal
4
4.
cards. Yep.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Okay, so we're getting 1.
I have to imagine you want the you're either taking the Shrill or the Belittle. It really depends on if you need the resource production or if you just want the extra damage. I guess there is something to be said for Vexing Malice if you feel like the arcane damage is the most likely way to leak damage through, because you do have these 2 mob skies, so you can easily like
start
apply
chaining
that
your
go
attacks.
again. Yeah, exactly. So
is that another Sonata in hand? Or no? What's that other card?
I mean, might
I
be
see
another.
Mobbing Skies.
It's
another Sonata.
Okay, so this is gonna be a fairly good turn here. So he's gonna. I do like taking the Belittle with that information.
So then he'll go for the Belittle, get the blue pitch Minnowism,
Yeah,
and then
so
pitch that for the other
I
Sonata.
think we'll probably go and see him play the Belittle here. That'll be his lead, and then we'll go get another blue Minnowism, and then we'll follow up with a second Sonata for 4, and hopefully find find 2 pieces of action off of that rather than the 1, and get a nice chunk of damage in this turn.
And with the 1 floating resource pitching that blue. Oh no.
Okay, we're just going to go for Sonata straight up.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong about this either. Okay, so we got
Meet and greet,
and
Skies, and what's that one's called? Spellblade Assault.
Spellblade Assault. Yeah. Worth noting that he did flip 2 Mordred Tides off of both of these Sonatas, so those are like going away back in the deck in some random spot. And Mordred Tide really like the card that allows you to have those big explosive turns off of really anything from Viserai. So
that's a great setup card. Yeah, it's a great finisher.
Having to know that that 2 they're just going away is a little rough.
At least it's randomized, shuffle back in. They could be back on top.
They'll cut it to the top.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna go for the Belittle. It looks like this is a yellow, so it's only gonna be coming in for 2, but we do have the reveal. I imagine we're gonna see our second blue Minnowism picked up here for that extra resource production to carry out the rest of this turn.
Yeah.
You know,
so the arcane damage was dealt.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was what? Nobody lost life from Blood Debt, but I don't see any cards pitched. So was the arcane
we should have 2 arcane damage from the Sonatas, but it looks like the players might have missed that.
Which gives you the guaranteed go get on the meet and greets.
Yeah, so if that was missed, that could be a problem. That is part of the card's resolution, so it's not really
a choice.
It's not really something you can just miss, but
he's going for playing the Minnowism into the meet and greet.
Interesting.
I guess you can still pitch the Mobrian Skies.
Yeah.
So.
And if you have another Mob Skies already, then it's not like he's just sitting on that in the arsenal. So,
But either way, he has to go again. He'll follow up with Rosetta Thorn. Yeah. So it's still a really clean turn.
I will say this is probably like, if you're Jonathan, this is probably slightly more underwhelming of a turn than you were hoping for. This is still, 4, 7, 12 points of damage.
But man, we are cleaning up that equipment.
Yeah. This is 12 points of damage of a turn, and then another 4 from the Rosetta. So you get in for 16, but like... Oh, he didn't have the action point off of the... He didn't have the go again on the meet and greet.
So no arcane damage was dealt?
They must have missed, and those Sonatas need to be banished as well, but... That's not as much of a problem. Wow, yeah, so missing that arcane damage off of the Sonatas, not realizing his meet and greet should add go again, and so misses the Rosetta Thorn. So that turn where he could have presented 16 damage, it looks like Josh only took nothing, I think.
I wish we were close so we could call a judge and make sure they got cleaned up in time, but...
Yeah, so that's
a feel bads.
Yeah. Not ideal here for Jonathan. Another Mob Skies in hand.
A pair of them.
And a Spellblade Assault. That was picked up. Yeah, so this hand looking kind of clunky for Jonathan. You've got all these Mob Skies, you don't necessarily have the action you need to go with them. And now you're already down 2 of your 3 Sonatas, so your ability to have these like bigger go wide turns is like starting to diminish. You don't have those like strong card advantage effects outside of Sonata, so we're really gonna have to see how Jonathan plays these like kind of wider turns going forward.
He's thinking about that block. I mean, at this point, you're looking at either Mob Against guys, because there's one in Arsenal, correct, and two in hand, so like throwing them away, like, it's an easy blocker pitch option.
I almost like just like blocking with one of the Mobs guys here. You do get that kind of like psych out ability from your opponent, like, oh, he's blocking with a Mobs guys. What does this mean for the context of his hands?
Right.
What does his next turn look like? Because Mobs guys is generally one of those cards you attribute to being like super important if you're a Viserai, if you're sitting across from a Viserai player. It's one of those cards you evaluate pretty highly.
Oh yeah, enables all your turns.
Exactly. And looks like that last card is a Command and Conquer. So Jonathan's next turn very well could just be like pitch a card, Command and Conquer.
Very much so. I don't think he has the resources, even if he kept his hand, really, to actually go all out. Have to go again into the Spellblade Assault, into...
Doesn't have a way to give the Command and Conquer go again, so his best turn is Mob Skies, Spellblade Assault, Command and Conquer.
There's still the option of the Spellbound Creepers, and eventually you want to be able to use it before you start blocking with it. At least to get a little bit of value out of it. Creepers can always be cheeky.
Really tanking on this block. Is going to elect to put both the Mob Skies in front of whatever this attack is. Going to take a couple points of damage. Mob Skies does only block for 2, so... Right? 2?
Yeah, it blocks for 2. He still does have the chess piece, as long as he plays an attack action, non-attack action.
Alright, so we are going to go ahead and run out the Command and Conquer. I like this play. You kind of get to see... This is one of those plays that, like, kind of checks where your opponent's at.
How good's your arsenal?
You know, and that card has been sitting in the arsenal for a while from Josh. Yeah. So, you know, really depending on like what your knowledge is of Levia, you may or may not know how important their arsenal cards could be. So this could just, I think this is like nice as just like a hedge to like get a read on what your opponent's up to. So
and we're losing the arsenal.
Yeah, Josh pretty willing to take that 6, gonna throw away a Ghostly Visit, you know, pretty whatever card. That was gonna sit and rot in that arsenal for a while. So honestly, if I'm Josh, I'm probably like not too sad to see that Ghostly Visit go and just like clean up the arsenal here for something a little bit more impactful.
Blood Rush Bellow.
Alright, we're gonna discard.
We got an attack.
One of those Shadow Brood attacks.
Yep.
That might have been Doomsday, I'm not sure honestly.
There's your talisman.
Okay, so
get some of that
Everfest
load.
Yeah. I believe that's the one that generates resources.
Yeah, if you pitch exactly one, makes it 3 instead.
Yeah. So just a little bit of way to like, when you get those clunker hands, to kind of clean up your resource production, so. That one does have go again, so we're gonna see what the rest of this turn looks like.
Oh, 3 action points.
The 6 on the Scab Skin Leathers. And now, if you're Jonathan, this is just like all kinds of bad news.
Shucks.
Yeah.
Oh, you hate to see it, but...
And now I do believe these Mandible Claws have go again from the discard, depending on what that card was, so...
How does Mandible Claws read if you discarded attack action?
If you discarded an attack action with 6 or more attack, it has go again.
Okay, they should be good.
Yeah, so they're gonna lead with one of the claws. Coming in for 3. Another claw for 3. Still with 3 action points. Honestly, I don't really like throwing away your armor here. I do feel like there can be some things later in the game that might just be worth preserving those cards in your hands, but...
The problem with Skullcap is sometimes you lose that window very quickly once you're under 15 health, so you're just trying to utilize that double block, that 2 block first as soon as you can.
Ghostly Visit from
Banish?
From Banish for 4. So it doesn't look like Josh is really going to be able to utilize all those action points. So it almost makes me wonder why he activated his Scab Skins in the first place, because if he had rolled a 1 and lost the rest of his turn there, that could have been heavy tempo swing back in the other direction.
That's a big thing with brutes, high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes it's the thrill of the hunt.
Yeah, but it's also... this is like, in my play group, we've had to like teach our group player, like, do you need to roll the leathers? Is it necessary to roll the leathers this turn? What will you be doing if you get even 2 action points, right?
Attacking with both my weapons.
So
it's all about what kind of threat you're putting.
Alright, so we have another yellow Blittle here. Gonna reveal the Shrill. I do have to say I really enjoy revealing my attacks that come in for 5 for belittle.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Show your moves.
Gonna get a blue this time. I do think I saw an Art of War in Josh's hand there. So we'll see what this turn cycle looks like. As far as does he want to kind of soak up some damage here to try to pressure a big turn next turn? All right, we are going to cover up the first belittle, so 2 damage not coming across there. Lots of resources available for Jonathan. Gonna elect to play the Minnowism and a Mob Skies. That's gonna generate a Rune Chant. And then we have Shrill. So Shrill coming in for 5 and a Rune Chant with Go again. And if he makes another Rune Chant off of that.
So it's actually coming in for 8 because of the Minnowism?
Yeah.
Well, sure,
Minnowism's one or less, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so this is only coming in for 5 or 6 if that's a yellow. Which he is playing 3 yellow Shrills, so I think this is a yellow. And so this is coming in for 6 and a Rune Chant. With Go again, so we'll see what this last card here is from Jonathan. If he wants to elect to play it, or if he can, if it's a blue, if it's a blue, he could grasp. Or no, he can't grasp because he has a Rune Chant. So he could just Rosetta for 2 and 2, or does he just want to arsenal his card? There's another Shrill.
Blue Shrill.
I think if I'm Jonathan, I really wish I could just play this Shrill.
So the question is, do you need the extra card in Arsenal set for a bigger turn next turn, as we're pitching to put the pressure on right now to force out the Thorn plus another Rune Chant?
I honestly like just kind of pressuring.
Yeah,
you've already got
12 life or less, you got Blood Debt and Banish.
And you've already gotten 2 cards out of Josh's hands. And while Jonathan doesn't know this, that or not being able to block,
exactly.
you get a little bit of extra value there to just like, and if you're Josh, you're not bent out of shape about just like arsenaling an Art of War and setting up for a bigger turn on your following turn. But even then, I think if you're Jonathan, you've seen that your opponent is very willing to block. So just like throwing out that little extra arcane here is,
okay.
I like this play a lot.
So is it coming in for?
So we have.
Was that a yellow Mothrian Skies when it hit? So it made 2 Rune Chants.
2 Rune Chants.
Okay, so
yep.
2, 2, and 2.
3, 2, and 2. Because it made a Rune Chant from the Shrill being played.
Right, you're right. Okay, yeah.
So there's a lot of damage. This is 7 damage coming across from this Rosetta attack.
And with that Art of War in hand, you're right. It's like we're in an awkward spot.
So he can cut. Josh has the option of either like
Spell Void.
He's got Spell Void, which I think this is probably the best opportunity you're gonna get for it. At this stage of the game. And gonna cover up one of the physical with the Scab Skin Leathers. But still a lot of damage coming across, so that's 4 damage from just this Rosetta attack.
Yeah, I think the pressure was the right play.
And now Josh is,
because Josh at this point I think has to keep the cards in hand to actually get a banish to not kill himself with Blood Debt here soon.
And it's funny because if you think back to that turn where we had the double Sonata, if that turn had just been sequenced correctly rules-wise, this game would have already been over.
Definitely.
And instead now we just have Jonathan like slowly but surely pulling away. And
doing what Rune Blades do.
Yeah, Josh like finding himself in a very precarious situation. I imagine we're going to see this non-Art of War card pitched and try to play, if he has any Blood Debt cards that aren't... Ooh, he is going to pitch the Art of War to play this Brood attack.
Yeah.
That's probably attacking for 6,
Give or take, at least, hopefully.
This is the odds. Oh, so this is the one that banishes 3 random cards from the graveyard. Honestly, this is so risky because if he hits multiple Blood Debt cards here, and you're just like, you're stuck with those for a whole turn cycle. Man.
So he did get at least a couple.
He hit a Ghostly Visit, so that's at least another point of damage off of this Blood Debt here. And every little bit matters now that you are out of Arcane Prevention.
Right. So at this point, though, we did the banish this turn, so Levia is activated. So no Blood Debt.
No Blood Debt this turn.
Okay.
But definitely like something you have to be aware of for your next couple turn cycles.
I mean, at this point, unless there's an on-hit effect here, I feel like you almost just want to soak this.
I think just so, yeah.
Yeah, you want your 4-card hand.
Your opponent is like way on the back foot.
With no arcane prevention?
And that, yeah.
Why would you get rid of the Vexing
throwing
Mouse?
away the Vexing Mouse too, like, super risky. But he does have a Mordred Tide to lead, so this is still going to be a big turn
It's
regardless.
Still not bad.
Just like a Mordred Tide alone, and a Spellblade Assault. So this
So we're getting a double trigger there.
We're gonna get two. We're gonna make 2 Rune Chants off of Viserai, and
then
we're gonna make
3 more.
3 Rune Chants off of our blue Spellblade Assaults. So like this is kind of a setup turn for Jonathan. I do kind of wish he kept the Vexing Mouse just to Arsenal for his following turn, because that way if he had
That
found
would have ended the game.
if he found a Mob Skies off of his 4 cards on the draw here, that would so basically lock the game away.
That's one of those fun things too. Like when you see a new player playing the game, like explaining the power of a blue Vexing Malice. Like it's just one of the best blue cards in the game.
It's like it only attacks for 1. Well,
it's still
it
2
does a lot.
sources of damage.
Yeah.
Well, 1 source, 2 different types of damage.
That's just one of the things that makes
value.
Viserai such a powerful hero, is the fact that like splitting up that damage is so difficult for a lot of heroes to beat most of the time.
Definitely, once you get this late in the game, like look at that equipment setup.
Yeah.
Those poor gambler's gloves.
Now, I will say, this is like kind of an opening for Josh here, where if he doesn't feel compelled to block, odds are, I think if you're Josh here, you're like, okay, I'm definitely dead
I'm dead for this next turn.
Jonathan's next turn.
Yeah.
Can I find a way to just push 11 damage through, or strip all the cards out of Jonathan's hand so that I can get another turn?
For a block to bide some time.
Yeah. I get the idea. You're like, if he doesn't find a way to like make.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
So we've got 2 Vexing Mouses, a Revel in Runeblood, and a Shrill. So
I think
Josh,
magic here. I think you're fine.
Josh is absolutely down the next.
So what you do? This is your Creeper's turn, hands down. You do Vexing Malice, then you go Revel in Runeblood, Vexing Malice, and the game's over.
Yeah.
You just empty that hand.
Yeah. This game is close to done. So we're gonna hit 3 cards for this attack. We have a Howl from Beyonds and 2 non-blood deck cards. So another blood deck card hitting the Banished Zone. So I'm gonna keep in mind, Levia online, so we're not gonna see those blood deck triggers hit this turn. But Jonathan's at 11. This attack comes in for at most 8, and Josh doesn't have a way to generate action points. Scapsing activation not gonna come through. Doesn't even have any cards in hand to like apply any additional pressure this turn.
Yeah.
And if I'm Jonathan, if this deck's just coming in for 8, I guess he's like familiar enough with Levia players to know that some of them play a reasonable number of pummels, and maybe you play around the pummel. Maybe I'm supposed to be playing around pummel, but I believe Josh only has 1 card in hand at this point, no resources floating. So you should
real threat.
You should feel comfortable just putting a gold piece of armor in to hedge, and then just come what may,
And we can't forget, he's already got 5 Rune Chants on the board. I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah,
so 1 Vexing Malice, that's 7 arcane damage he can't prevent.
Yep.
That's all you need. So just survive this turn, play 1 Vexing.
Yeah, so his next turn is like very powerful, where you get to go Vexing Malice, Creepers.
Into Revel.
Creepers, right? You can activate it 2 times. Or is it once per turn?
I believe it's once per turn.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, once per turn instant.
So he plays his first Revel for no value, but then he can play a second Revel and get 4 Rune Chants if he really feels like he needs like.
I don't know if he has 2 Revels right now. I think he has 2 Vexing Malice. Yeah, Shrill, 2 Vexing Malice, and a Revel in
Okay, 2. I thought I saw 2 Revels.
So at this point, all you need is
all you need is the Vexing.
Yeah, that's game. That's threatening 7 arcane that can be prevented.
And even if this doesn't, you have the action point, and then you can reset on the back.
Exactly.
So if you're Jonathan, you're probably just like nodding your head, just
we good.
Here it is.
Show your moves. Representing that damage. Okay.
Yep. 5-2 and 1, or 5-2 and 2. He's playing red Vexing, so this could be a red.
Oh, okay.
So this could be 5-2 and 3, which
for 1
is
resource.
Like, there it is. There's the handshake. Yeah. Good stuff to Jonathan.
Oh, the Via got close.
Yeah, I think if there was like 1 turn,
it's like with Creepers, and this could have been really fun. And come up with another Vexing.
Another Vexing.
Let's just do that Revens. Let's get the salt ready. Like, oh man, poor guy. But no, the Levia player did a pretty decent job.
Yeah. I think if there was one turn where if Josh could have just managed to hold on to one of the Art of War turns,
Definitely.
but like we saw both of the turns where he was holding the Art of Wars, he ended up having to pitch them away.
Right.
And if just like Jonathan's at 3 life here at the end, you're just like, always as a player, you're like, man, I got my opponent so low. What could I have done just a little bit differently to just seal that game out?
A lot of it always comes down to like, how do you block? How do you react to certain attacks or damage? Like, was the erase face that devastating that turn where you had to block? You know, but it's also all about the timing. That makes it very interesting.
Last time was that they grab one of them, they could sit here, and then one of y'all can either sit behind or sit over here in the seat and just
that's fine.
Who would y'all like to talk to?
Probably the Levia player.
Yeah.
Because it's Levia and it's much more.
Why not?
I mean, it's much
Why
more.
would you miss that opportunity?
Everyone knows how Viserai works, I think, you know? It's kind of
Like Chain.
Oh, wow.
That's really flavorful.
I'm going to take 15 game actions and now you're dead. What do you want, yeah?
Oh, forget the Sonata arcane damage to still be fine.
I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't even need it.
I agree, the card's too good. We'll just play it differently.
I don't even have my Bloodsheath Skeleton to like play this for $1 billion anymore.
I'm still bitter about that. I would rather Sonata get banned over the equipment.
Yeah.
But
I think the problem with Bloodsheath Skeleton is like you're limiting your design space for the future.
Very much
as
so.
always. Like, I think that had to be in the considerations as to why they made the ban decision that way.
Makes sense. Looking at Runeblade class, though, Viserai's really the only one who utilizes the whole rune chant
for
mechanic.
sure.
Do you think they will go into the talents in the future and actually bring the rune chant aspect back into a certain talent?
No, I just think that I feel like rune chants are just inherently a very Runeblade thing.
Okay.
And it's just we're gonna see like different developments of how Runeblades like interact with them.
Okay.
I think Briar was honestly just kind of like a weird exception to the rule.
Well, even Chain, I don't think Chain has any sources of actually within his card pool, within his talents.
Not within his talents, no. And honestly, he kind of just deals arcane damage like through other like shadow cards, shadow Runeblade cards.
Yeah, absolutely. Come take my seat.
Yeah.
I will take the Ninja Turtle chair.
All right, everyone. This is our Levia player we just had on stream. Unfortunate loss. Really close game.
Yeah, got him.
Couldn't close it out at the end. It happens.
Yeah.
So I guess my biggest question is, when it comes to Levia, what kind of drew you to this like more? I guess what people would call a traditional Levia list with the shadow cards and the blood debt and all that, versus the kind of no blood debt pummel lists we've seen going around that people have been more gravitating towards as the Levia meta has developed.
More so just in playtesting with my playtest group, I've just found it to be a little more consistent and less. I'm able to block a little bit more, at least personally, where I don't have to worry about keeping 3 cards in hand versus 2 cards. It allows me to block with an extra card and survive a little bit longer. I tried to. It does lead to a little bit of missing the blood debt triggers a little bit more often, which I feel like lost me that game, so there's the argument for running the more updated lists on it, but I feel like cards like Evanfold still have a chance to bring you back in and close out the game, because Levy's really just underrated. I feel like she's like 1 card away from being really good, but
you gotta use the Evanfold to like guarantee that banish late game.
Yeah,
that blood debt trigger.
Yeah, that's the idea behind it, but it didn't work out against Viserai because I had to pop it for a Spell Void earlier on to try and miss it, but she's kind of similar to Guardian in a sense where you can keep a 2-card hand and still just come back with a 6 or 7 attack power. Attack with.
It's like with Art of War, it's kind of the same boat as well. You can utilize it early to get card advantage. You gotta put higher pressure turns.
Yeah.
And then also you can use it late game to force the banish to clean things up.
Yeah, it's more so with the Blood Rush Bellow turns. If you don't have an extra attack, it allows it to. I don't know. It allows for more flexibility, as well as if I'm forced into a situation where I have to set an attack action card in my arsenal zone, it allows me to block with those cards as well. It allows for a little bit more defensive because they never came up, but I'm running a lot more defense reactions than in a typical list.
Okay.
I'm running 2 or 3 unmovables, Guardian of the Shadow Realms, and some other bigger defense cards. So it's supposed to be more of a controlling deck, even though those cards never showed up in that match. Okay.
In your ideal world, if they were to print one card that would fix Levia's problems, what would you like to see from them in the future?
Honestly, I'm not really too sure what makes her good without breaking the class as a whole and what would be healthy for the format. I feel like, personally, what I would really like is a Doomsday-esque card with not a 6-blood debt requirement card in there, because I feel like it would have to be way too late in the game, and that would give it a chance of being able to be played earlier and actually being able to be played instead of just the unplayable 6-blood debt requirements, because by the time you can play that later in the game, that's your only play for the turn, and it doesn't allow for anything past being played.
Gotcha. So for our brute players out there, when it comes to scab skin leathers, obviously leathers is probably regarded as one of the most powerful pieces of equipment in the game. What is generally your philosophy when it comes to leathers as far as finding those turns for activations and weighing the risk of losing your turn to rolling the 1 versus the reward of hitting those 2 to 3 action points?
I feel like it honestly depends on the build. I feel like they're less effective in the Mandible Claw build because you have Go Again naturally within those cards, so you don't really need the extra action points, but it's for those turns when it does go off and you hit a natural 6 and you can get 3 action points and go off. It is I feel like it's a better Rhinar card, honestly, but it's still really good. It's kind of really hard to weigh the possibilities. Like when I personally use them, it's going to be a turn where it either only ends up giving me 1 extra action point, which is all you really need for the higher costing cards, but I don't know, it's a tough situation to call.
At worst, it's 3 pieces of armor, so...
Yeah, absolutely.
The fact that that card has Battle Worn instead of Blade Break or...
ridiculous.
But hey, I think brutes gotta need the little extra oomph sometimes, so...
Definitely.
Not super strange to see.
Definitely.
What's your favorite card in the Levia deck?
My favorite card is probably Grapple and Growl. It's just an easy 1 for 7. My only complaint is it doesn't banish cards itself. But that's it being a 1 for 7, it equals out. It's a very fair card, but it allows for those extra 2-card blocks, being able to turn around and still attack with a 2-card hand and forcing them 2 or 3 cards out of their hand or take 7. So I feel like that's the best card in the deck.
Do you have any other questions?
I'm cool with all the buy. It was actually great to watch that game. I appreciate you playing it.
Yeah, thanks for coming and talking to us. Really appreciate it. Best of luck in the rest of your tournament.
Thank you.